This is the Cycling Matters podcast, your weekly dose of discussions about our love for bike. This podcast is brought to you in cooperation with Ciclo. Hi, I am Mika.
And I am Momo.
So last episode, we talked about a small business whose primary customer base is the cycling community. Today, we'll be talking to a professional who uses his bicycle as a means to do his work and show his art. But before everything else, subscribe to the Cycling Matters podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and other podcast platforms. We release new episodes every Monday. Just search Cycling Matters, tap subscribe, or follow, and enjoy the discussion. If your algorithm is the same as the Cycling Matters team, which is most likely the case kasi mahilig tayong lahat sa bike, I'm almost certain that you have encountered at least one of our guests' work in your Explore feed. So for me, the first time I encountered our guest's work was his photo. I think it was in Commonwealth in the peak of ECQ. So I think it was the first time na trinay nila yung bike lanes sa Commonwealth. Tapos, shinare siya ni Jan, one of our members in Cycling Matters. And that was the first time I actually felt na parang, oh my gosh, ang dami na talagang nagbo-bike commute. Kasi I think before the pandemic, I was already a bike commuter, but I didn't see that much people on the streets. So parang it really sparked an interest in me na, oh my gosh, ganito na pala ka in demand yung space ng bisikleta sa streets natin. So that was my personal introduction to our guest for today. So if you don't already know, I think with the title or with the description of our episode today, we'll be talking about Jilson Tiu, a photographer, photojournalist who shoots corporate and editorial work professionally, but also has a huge following for his work depicting Metro Manila streets and sceneries. So without further ado, hello, Jilson. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for inviting me din. I listen to your podcast talaga. Sa lahat ng sa lahat ng episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ayun.
Wow, I'm kilig. But we're kind of new in this team, but we're happy na you also already know about what we do here in Cycling Matters. So before we start everything, can you introduce yourself and what you do for a living?
Ayan. I am Jilson Tiu. My bread and butter for life is photography and photojournalism. So I used to work for a newspaper, a local newspaper. It's called Philippine Daily Inquirer. Ayan. 4 years din ako dun as a photojournalist. Ayan. So, and then ever since 2017, nag-freelance na ako. So, I veered away from news. Hindi naman veered away from news. Pero wala na ako dun sa everyday grind ng news. So, ngayon, I'm a freelance photographer and a photojournalist. But on the side, I do personal work as a street photographer. I post it on my Instagram and my social media. So, yun yung personal work ko. Ayun.
Yeah. So yun yung napansin ko nga, we were looking through your website and different pa yung professional and yung personal work mo. So I guess our first question would be, how is it different for you as a photographer when you shoot professionally for your work and then when you go to the street and shoot what you post on your Instagram and what we know you for, at least in our team? Like what's the main difference for you in terms of that work?
In terms of that work, siguro yung yung professional kasi, ayan, tulad nito, may shoot lang ako something nasa background ko na Octabox. So, I shoot a lot of corporate stuff for real estate, mga real estate, mga ano ba, mga corporate construction. I can't mention siguro yung mga, sige na, mention ko na nga. So, mga Ayala, Holcim, mga Shell, ganyan. Mga
Mhm.
annual report nila, mga corporate pictures
Mm.
nila sa website nila. So, that's the professional thing that I do. And yung siguro yung, and always ride the car. Whenever I shoot corporate, kasi I can't bring this with a bike. And sila kasi may
Yeah.
control dun sa oras. So,
Yeah.
ayun. But sa personal works ko, back then, I used to walk like 10, 15 kilometers just to shoot pictures around Metro Manila, around Manila and Tondo and Binondo, which yung place na nakatira ko. But now, I ride the bike to shoot Metro Manila. So, yun yung difference siguro ng transportation in terms of personal work and corporate work. And yung usually yung
Mhm.
personal work kasi revolves around life and daily life of the Filipino, especially ngayong pandemic. So, ayun.
Yeah. Okay. Na-mention mo na varied yung transportation mo when you shoot professionally and when you shoot for your personal work. Siguro for our listeners who don't know Jilson yet, we actually wanted to talk to him because as we followed him, nalaman namin na nagba-bike pala siya to shoot all those nice photos sa Instagram. So parang as kami na road cyclist slash bike commuters, parang medyo na mind blown kami kasi how can you carry that much equipment, one, and two, how do you shoot like that as a cyclist? Kasi parang, ewan ko, baka ako lang na nahahassle ako as a cyclist. Parang ang hirap na nga, tapos magtatrabaho ka pa, tapos magbubuhat ka pa ng mabigat na camera. So, yun siguro yung, that
Yeah.
leads us to our next, yeah. Okay, that leads us to our next question. Parang, you said na you didn't use cycling for your professional work. So what made you shift to cycling? Like what was your, as Jan coined it before, what was your coming of rage story that made you shift to using your bicycle to shoot your personal work?
Um, Isa rin ako sa mga taong nawalan ng transportation ngayong pandemic. So, I used to ride the bike when I was a kid. So that's just, you know, alam mo yun, tinuruan yung mag-bike and nag-bike ka sa park and that's it. BMX.
Mm-hmm.
But ngayong pandemic, I was really torn kung anong bibilin kong car, anong bibilin kong vehicle to transport. Kasi number one, wala akong parking. Wala akong parking. Number two, wala akong lisensya. Don't drive. So, ayan, naisip ko
Hirap
kung bibili
yun.
ako motorcycle, mag-aaral pa akong mag-drive, mag-aaral pa ako kaya ako pa mag-enroll ng lisensya. Eh, nung time na yun, sarado lahat. It's lockdown. So, how do I transport? How do I go around, di ba? Without
Mhm.
walking. I've tried walking from Binondo to Cubao and back again. Ang hirap. Ang hirap. Sobrang
Wow.
hirap. So, sabi ko, kailangan ko ng bike. Actually, one of my photographer friends inspired me to bike. Her name is Lisa David. She's a photographer for Reuters. Uh, but she doesn't do this. She doesn't do photography she doesn't do yung ginagawa ko. Yung mag-photography tapos mag-bike professionally. Ganon. Kasi she's mainly music. So, ayun. Na-inspire ako mag-bike nung nakita ko siya, sabi ko, oh, pwede naman pala. And then, ayun, sabi ko, I need a bike. I need to learn to, kailangan ko maalala pa paano mag-bike. So, I went to Quiapo. I bought my first bike there. Sabi ko, 16,000. Bibili na ako ng mahal, 16,000. And then, I bought a folding bike, a Turn A7, uh, and I rode the bike without anything, without helmet, without, wala pa akong alam nun eh. So, niride ko siya papuntang Manila Bay, Binondo to Manila Bay. Tapos parang sabi ko, wow, I can do this pala. And then doon na nag-start na kaya palang umikot ng Metro Manila via bike. Kasi the next day, I went to Makati eh.
That's true.
Mabilis pa nun kasi walang sasakyan eh. Kasi lockdown eh. I have a press ID to go around to shoot. I'm allowed to go out. So, it's okay. So, ayun, feeling ko yun yung, pagka-process ko ng pagka-convert to riding a bicycle. Up to now, ngayon, dala-dala ko na yung mga mabibigat kong, mga equipment, sa bike. And, yun, I end up with a
Kaya
steel
naman
bike
pala.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think, you mentioned na before your bicycle, you used to walk to do your street photography. Parang hindi ko siya 15 kilometers. Parang medyo matagal yun. How long does that take you? Pagka ganon katagal?
Siguro 3 hours, gano'n. 3
Tagal
hours.
talaga.
Ang dami kong photos nun. Pero, it's hard eh. Lalo na pag may backpack ka. Mahirap siya eh.
Yeah.
Kasi when you walk, you use everything. And kanina, I walked from Binondo to MOA. Nag-photo walk lang kami ng friend ko. 10 kilometers yun. Pero nag-grab na ako pa uwi. Kasi,
Hindi na.
yun din eh. Actually, ang hirap din ngayon eh, na parang yung iba kong friends na hindi nakabike. Parang gusto ko introduce yung bike sa kanila. Na pwede tong tool to move us around. Kasi marami akong street photographer friends eh, na hindi pa nagbabike, ganyan. Kino-convert ko sila ngayon na mag-bike.
Yes.
Kasi
Yes.
dami ko napupuntahan sa bike.
Oo. And do you think
Oo.
may difference siya when you did photo walk versus when you're now a cycling photographer? Technically, may difference ba siya in the output you produce?
Yeah, big difference. Both positive and negative. Kasi positive kasi hindi ka na napapagod. Negative kasi when you walk, you're really slow. But the bad thing about walking kasi, may mga places na wala talagang photo, wala talagang picture, wala kang makikita dun. It's just dead space, nothing's happening. There's no elements to play around. The light is not good. So you need to pass through that, siguro mga 2 to 3 kilometer na lakad. And then pag may bike ka, you can just go through like sobrang bilis. And then reach the place kung saan maganda yung ilaw, saan maganda yung angle, saan maraming tao, saan yung story, nandun ka agad. But the bad thing about it, yun nga yung feeds. Ang hirap din yung feeds. Kailangan mo i-lock yung bike mo sa tamang lugar. Yun.
Yeah.
That's why I really bring my lock anytime, anywhere I go. I don't trust the people here. Kasi I live in Binondo, I used to live in Tondo. Diba? So, ayan. Kahit saan naman actually you need to bring your lock.
Yeah.
True. I think mas issue pa sa'yo yung safety kasi you bring your camera pa. So, maliban sa bike mo, yung lens mo pa, yung camera mo mismo.
I mean, yung camera at saka yung lens, nasa sayo siya hawak mo siya So, okay lang. Yung bike kasi iiwan mo siya, no one's guarding it. So, kailangan iwan mo talaga siya sa loob ng mayari. Since media naman ako, I can show my ID to the barangay and leave my bike inside the barangay or leave my bike inside the police station. They take care of it. Nangyayari na yun maraming beses sa akin. So, putol din sa Baseco, if I go to Baseco and and shoot around there, I leave my bike sa barangay or sa Coast Guard. Nakikilak na lang ako,
Interesting.
okay naman. So,
Mm-mm.
okay naman siya. Yun yung ano ko. Kasi feeling ko, ang hirap din kasi sumabay sa mga iba kong friends eh. One time kasi tinry ko sumabay sa mga akyat-akyat. Um, wala palang hinto yun eh. Like, first time ko umakyat
Wala
ng
siyang
Sierra, parang
sidewalks.
wala siyang hinto-hinto, like dire-diretso, wala siyang hinto to take photo, ganun. Kasi yun yung habit ko eh, to stop, take photo, and then ride again. So, ang hirap. Kasi ang dala ko pa sa Sierra, parang yung dignans ko. Parang ano. Kaya ngayon, whenever someone invites me to Sierra, I don't bring anything. I just bring my phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't
Yun.
imagine nga climbing Sierra Madre with what you bring. I cannot.
Yun.
Tapos naka-steel bike
Bagal
ka pa,
ko,
diba?
grabe. Like 5 kph. Yeah, still. Surly ba? Surly.
Extra heavy pa siya. So, you mentioned nga
Heavy,
yung
heavy.
you climbed up Sierra Madre with that big camera lens that you use for your work.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about, diba uso yung mga what's in your bag? Pero like I mentioned earlier, as bike commuters kami and as road cyclists, usually yung lamang ng yung what's in our bag namin is kunyari pampalit sa office. So magaan yun.
Yeah.
Or bike repair toolkit. Parang yun lang basically yung laman ng
Yeah.
bags namin as cyclists. So can you talk about
Yeah.
what's in your bag as a photographer cyclist? We just want to ask this kasi parang what you mentioned kanina na it's already hard to move around with your bicycle just because you want to protect your bicycle. Paano pa ikaw na
Yeah.
your means of doing your work, dinadala mo pa with you. So parang very important talaga ang cycling infrastructure like bike parking, a safe one.
Totoo,
Hindi lang
totoo.
basta
Super,
rack.
super, yeah. Super important sa akin yung super important sa akin yung bicycle parking, which is a lot of establishment na nag-a-adapt naman, pero ang dami pa rin talagang anti-cyclist. Hindi ko masabing anti-cyclist na kasi masabi ko lang anti-cyclist kasi parang yung trato nila sa mga bike, parang kalat, istorbo, 'di ba? May mga ibang sa mga establishment sa San Juan ganyan, like yung Starbucks dun, parang yung guard, ba't mo inakyat dito yung bike mo, bawal yan, ganyan. Parang, bakit bawal mag-park, 'di ba? So, yun yung isa sa mga frustration ko sa 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 mga establishment. Pero I'm happy that marami ng establishment na nag-implement ng bike rack, bike parking, ganyan. Very important siya. Lalo sa for a commuter.
Yeah. So, I think sa story mo yon ko nakita yung how you set up mo as a cycling photographer. Sorry, yun yung term ko sa'yo kasi di ko alam kung may term talaga for the type of work that you do. Pero how is your setup? Siguro for some of our listeners, I think a lot of people naman know and enjoy photography, especially if sila yung subject. But as a person who takes the photo, how is your usual setup ba? Can you describe it to us?
Ayan. So, medyo marami akong dala. Hindi kasi dami ng dala ni Doc Andrew. Pero marami din akong dala.
Yeah.
I have a saddle bag which contains the repair kit like patch kit, extra tube, pump, tire lever, yun yung laman ng saddle bag ko. And I have a feed bag which contains sometimes coffee, sometimes pag rainy yung jacket ko nakasaksak lang doon. Tapos, nandun din yung cover ko ng saddle kasi I have a leather saddle. So, I need that cover. Tapos yung main compartment ko, dalawa kasi yung main bag ko. If I'm just going around the city. Like I'm gonna go around 20 to 35 to 40 kilometers. I bring a mountain bag. So the bag is called Mountain Smith. It's a lumbar pack with a backpack harness. Pero yung main weight load niya, yung load ng bag nandun sa ano mo, nandun sa lumbar area mo. Lumbar area and
Mm.
sa shoulder. So dun
Para
naka-point
siyang
yung oh.
para siyang yung
So
hiking. 'Di ba ganun din yung mga
hiking bag siya.
as in hiking bag?
Mm.
Hiking bag talaga
Yeah,
siya.
yeah, hiking bag siya.
Oh,
So
interesting. Okay.
ayun, very old style hiking bag. Mainly sa lumbar yung ano, super laki ng lumbar ano niya, lumbar buckle. So yung lumbar mo
Mm.
talagang buhat. Support lang yung sa shoulder. So nandun yung camera ko, camera, payong. I always had payong. Which is weird, di ba? Parang cyclist tas may payong, di ba? Ayun, I have umbrella because I shoot in the rain most of the time. So whenever you shoot
Wow.
whenever there's rain, hinto ako. Hinto, lock yung bike, tapos bunot yung payong, tapos shoot sa ulan. Ganon. Kasi hindi ka pwede makapag-shoot sa ulan ng walang payong. Kasi misconception ng mga ibang tao na kailangan ko ng camera cover para sa rain. Para makapag-shoot ako ng rain. Hindi, you need the umbrella. A really portable umbrella that you can bring anytime. Tapos make it as close as possible sa'yo. Kasi nandito na yung, nasa ulo mo na yung parang bakal ng umbrella. Tapos, nandun. And, yun, I always bring a lens hood sa lens ko kasi pag umulan, pag nag-shoot ka sa ulan, the glass ng lens, hindi siya pwede mabasa. And you need to operate the camera with one hand. One hand lang. Kasi
Isa
your
na sa
other
payong.
hand is carrying the umbrella. So, ganun ka. Parang stuck lahat. So, ayun. I carry an umbrella. I have of course, I have an extra shirt. It's a must. Power bank, which charges my camera and my phone, which is parang yung phone ko, parang nag-act na siya as a computer. So, ayun, nag-act na siya as a computer. Kasi kadalasan, whenever I post photo for Instagram, I just edited sa phone ko and then post it. Pero pag client-based na post, in-edit ko pa. Like now I'm working for a project in UNA. So, in-edit ko yun. So, that's story based na post. So ano ba dinadala ko sa
Ang
bag
dami.
ko?
Ang
Water.
dami
Of
pa.
course, water. Kailangan mo ng water. Saka pangpunas ng camera. Saka rain cover ng bag. Meron din ako nun. Rain cover ng bag. Ayan. So, yung next setup ko is a handlebar bag which was made by Swift Industries. Swift Industries. It's a handlebar bag. Tawag sa kanya Zeitgeist. So, nililipat ko lang lahat ng gamit ko dun. So, naging handlebar bag na siya. Ginagamit ko yung handlebar bag if I'm going far. 70 to 100 kilometers. Handlebar bag yan. Hindi ka pwedeng naka-backpack. Kasi if you have a backpack, para magiging bato siya. Parang hihilahin ka na niya pag tama mo ng 80 kilometers, parang ang sakit niya sa likod. Ganon. Tapos parang babagal ka na talaga. So, yun. So, I think yun yung mga what's in my bag na dinadala ko palagi. Wala akong food, no? Wala akong food. Bili-bili na ako sa labas. So, yun.
Sa daan na lang.
Sa daan na lang.
Very, very, very interesting, Jilson. Actually, for selfish reasons, kaya I agreed to join this session. Kasi I also dabble. I'm a bit interested in photography and tapos nagsa-cycling din. So inisip ko, paano kaya? Jilson, dapat pala hinintay ko muna tong session na to bago ako umorder sa Lazada ng laptop. Hingi ako sa iyo ng
Yeah.
ng recommendation. Pero yun ang unang iniisip ko, no? How do you, kasi minsan di maiwasan yung sumemplang ka, no? Siyempre, una mo isipin, mabasag yung lens.
Yeah.
Di ba? So,
yeah. Nangyari na yun sa akin.
talaga?
I hit the ground. Yeah,
Oh, no.
As in, tumama yung head ko sa gutter. Buti na lang naka-mips ako. Important yun.
Okay.
Yun. So, hindi naman nasira yung
wow.
camera ko and everything. Pero, ano yun, sa Kalayaan flyover, pababa.
Oh, wow. So, protected ng bag talaga yung mo. Yeah.
Meron kasing cushion yung bag ko pero ako wala akong cushion. Yeah.
Ayun. Jilson, interested din kami sa kasi cyclist and photographer, no? Na bago ba ng cycling mo yung iyong photography at yung photography din ba na bago yung experience mo ng cycling? Kasi we see you have we were looking at your photographs sa Instagram earlier, no? This beautiful photographs of cyclists, no, as subjects, no?
Thanks.
So can you tell us about cyclists as subjects of your work now that you are also cycling?
Ayun, so mas naging tao ako, feeling ko.
Wow.
Yeah, because of bike. Kasi parang nung photography lang, parang I don't feel, you feel the street, syempre, I walk there, ganyan. Pero nung nag-bike ako, parang, ewan ko, mas nakaka-relate ako sa mundo.
Nakakatayo na balahibo yan.
Tapos parang may iba na akong output sa araw. May iba na akong happiness. Saka may iba na akong pipicturan. May iba, parang it's a new world eh. It's a new world.
Wow.
Tapos nagkaroon ako ng sobrang daming friends na kasama ko ngayon. Parang I saw that cycling. Ito, not to bash people in photography and photojournalism. Pero parang yung nami-meet ko ng tao sa cycling, parang isa yung sahig na ginugulungan nyo. Parang ganun. Parang nagbabike kasi kayo lahat, so you feel the struggle of everything. And parang ngayon, nagpo-post na ako ng friends ko on the bike, I photograph them, ganyan. Parang dati, hesitant ako gawin siya kasi parang hindi ko nakita yung purpose behind it na mag-shoot ako ng mga friends ko na nag-shoot. Parang awkward, di ba? Pero ngayon sa bike, parang ewan ko, nag-iba yung mundo ko sa photography and because of the bike.
Wow.
Parang kasi ang dami rin kasing photographer na nagbabike eh. Ang daming photographer na nagbabike. Pero you don't bring the camera sa bike nila.
Yeah.
So yun. Ako kasi I do it to roam around talaga to shoot.
Yeah.
I really use the bike to roam around. And the purpose of biking, pag alone lang ako, is really to take pictures around Metro Manila. So, in terms of photos, nagbago yung photos ko kasi I go to places na hindi ko napupuntahan eh. Especially mga overpass. Yung mga overpass view ng mga bridge dito sa Metro Manila. Yung mga basta may mahabang streets yun. May mga ganun angle na ako na nakukuha. So tapos parang cycling is eye-opening sa akin. Parang dati, delikado. Ngayon, parang ginagawa ko, di ba? Pero, hindi naman, alam mo yun, alam mong kaya mo eh. Tapos, possible, parang ang liit na ng Metro Manila because of the bike eh.
Yeah.
Sobrang liit na ng Metro Manila. And, na-confused din ako, bakit nagsasuffer tayo sa sobrang tagal sa daan. Di ba? I mean, in a bike, ang bilis mo nakakarating sa places. You can hit like 5 to 7 places in a day or more than, di ba? Tapos, pag sa car, parang stuck ka eh. Parang point A
Yeah.
to point B ka lang eh. Point A, point
Yeah.
B, point C, tapos uwi ka na. That's it. Tapos parang, uh, you're stuck on that place. Kaya, shoot ako
Yeah.
sa Recto. Tapos, lilipat ako Makati. Doon lang ako. Makati Recto,
Mm.
uwi. That's it. My photos are there. Pero, pag nag-bike ako, may photo ko sa Recto, may photo ko sa Santa Mesa, may photo ko sa Nagtahan. Ang dami eh. So, ang dami yung
Yeah.
pupuntahan. So, parang, ayun. Siguro yun yung masasabi ko
Yeah.
about bike contributing to my photography and how I look at people now that I'm on the bike. I'm
Yeah.
more mas tao ako ngayon than a photographer.
Ang tindi niyan na Jilson, pwedeng magdamagang usapan to, na mas naging tao, di ba? Basta tama, no? Hindi lang, di ba, hindi lang yung tao, pati yung pagdanas mo ng lugar, di ba? Parang it's not the same place anymore, di
Yeah.
ba? Sabi mo kanina,
It's
ang
not
ganda
the
na sabi
same
mo,
place. It's not
on
same place.
the same ground that you're, sabi mo kanina, ang ganda ng pagkasabi mo. Quote kita doon, Jilson,
Oh, we're rolling on the same
You're rolling on
ground.
the same
Oh.
ground. No? Ang galing, oo.
Oo. Kahit sino ka man, di ba?
Di ba sa kotse?
Basta pag naka-bike kayo, di ba? So, yun.
Oo.
Yeah. Agree.
Tama.
Can I share lang
Diba
yung
sure.
sinabi ni Jilson din. I super agree with you get to know parang it's the same place but you get to know it different. Yung parang pinaka eye-opening for me when I became a bike commuter. As in dito lang sa village ko. Like 20 years na ako nakatira dito. Pero yung mga lugar
Wow.
pag bored kasi ako, umiikot lang ako nung quarantine kasi bawal ka lumabas sa labas ng residence mo, 'di ba? Tapos nagawa ko lang siya after 20 years. Inikot ko yung kung saan ako nakatira. Tapos doon ko lang nakita parang, wow, may mini bonsai forest pala dito. Wow, ang dami palang, like, may mga old couples pala dito na nakatira. Tapos nag-walking lang sila together. Parang na-appreciate ko yung kung saan ako nakatira after 20 years. Parang it's really true na it's different when you're on a bicycle versus when you're in a other vehicle talaga. Yun lang.
Yeah. The city unfolds eh. The city unfolds before your eyes.
Tama.
Yun yung ano sa bike eh.
Oo. Yun nga, nung naalala ko nga, Jilson din, nung kauna-unahan ko, mahina pa ako sa bike, beginner pa talaga noon. No? Tapos may nagyaya sa akin sa Tagaytay, no? Parang from Quezon City. Sabi ko, pagkatapos sabi ko, Tagaytay was never the same again. Kasi dinanas mo yung hirap na pagpunta ron. So, di ba, parang tama ka, no? Galing, no? May share ka ba sa amin, Jilson, na a story, your favorite cycling-related photo? No? We've seen, no? Maraming photographs ka sa Instagram na may na cycling yung team. But is there one that stands out? Meron ka bang favorite doon?
Favorite? The one that stands out? Ngayon? Feeling ko yung pictures ng friends ko eh. Sa bike.
Mm-hmm.
Yun yung ano eh. Yun yung kasi kilala ko yung tao eh. Alam yun? Pag kilala ko yung tao sa saddle, parang iba eh. Iba yung tingin mo eh. They're also photographers. Pero feel ko yung mga photos na recent photos ko of yun, si Lester of First Bike Ride and si Justin of Manila, yung Manila commuter. Feeling ko sila yung isa sa mga favorite shots ko. Kasi I've been with them cycling around Metro Manila. Suffered with them through traffic and through through gitgitan sa mga jeepney, sa mga truck, ganyan. Nung nag-deliver din kami ng mga supplies sa mga community pantry around Quezon City, around Manila, ganun. siguro, yun yung recent shot ko with them. Siguro yun yung favorite ko. Kasi before cycling din, uh, marami na ako photos ng cyclist. As in, sobrang dami na. One of my favorite photos siguro na not involving my friends is, ano yun feeling ko 2019 December. Ano yun, super daming, ano yun, it's between TAF and EDSA sa may MRT. Tapos may spot kasi doon na when it's 4:30, the light hits the intersection and lahat ng tumatawid from that intersection, sobrang haba ng shadows.
Wow.
Tapos I try to compose it na magkakadikit yung shadows, magkakadikit yung tao, tapos may well space sila dun sa loob. Tapos yun. So, feeling ko yun yung favorite ko na hindi pa ako cyclist. Tapos na-appreciate ko siya now na cyclist na ako. Nag-iba yung itsura ng picture na ngayon na, ay, ganun pala yung pakiramdam pag tumawid dun sa place na yun. Ganyan. Tapos ganun pala yung first-person perspective nung habang tumatawid dun sa spot na yun. That's a beautiful place. But yung view na yun, it's a commuter's view. It's a MRT commuter's view. It's not a cyclist view. Yun. Kasi I'm standing sa MRT and I'm looking downward sa intersection. So, yun.
How do you,
I'm sure.
Go, sorry,
Yeah,
Mama.
sorry. Yeah, Jilson, I'm sure our listeners, no, some of our listeners or many of them, interesado din sila yung mga cyclists na, to also go into photography. Siguro briefly lang, what advice can you give cyclists who also want to do, photography for the first time?
Siguro, act like, wag tulad ko. Kasi sa simula, mahirap talaga Mahirap talaga. The way to carry the camera is backpack talaga. Hindi backpack. Kuha kayo ng backpack na may space sa likod para may ventilation yung likod nyo. May mga magandang bags yung Osprey. It's either mountaineering bag or a hip pack. Maliliit naman yung camera ngayon And pag hindi naman kayo meticuloso sa aperture, maganda na yung iPhone and Samsung. Maganda na siya. Na alternative. If you're just gonna post it for your Instagram story, siguro okay na yun. Pero if you want to go like professional photography, ganyan, tapos sa bike, feeling ko kailangan mo ng DSLR. Feeling ko go for at start siguro carry like a 50mm. This is a 50mm, 50mm and a 35. But most of the time I carry a 70-200. Ito, 70-200. Ayan. So medyo mabigat siya, medyo mabigat. Pero I always carry a 70-200 because number one, it's pandemic ngayon. But I can't get close to people, ganyan.
That's right.
And ayun, so kailangan na makita mo na yung photo from afar. Kaya makita mo na siya, tingnan mo siya, ano to, 200mm ito. Yun. So, yung advice ko siguro, yun nga, 50 or 35mm na mababa yung aperture, which is 1.8 pataas. 1.8 pababa pala. 1.8, 1.4, 1.2. Yun. So, yun. Dinala ko sa Kaibiyang yung 1.2. Oh my God, ang bigat.
Mahal
it's
din.
A big lens. Mahal.
Yeah, it was beautiful lens.
So, beautiful lens. I miss that lens actually. Nilam ko lang siya sa Canon So, ayun. So, yun yung ma-advise ko. And as small as possible sana yung camera. Tapos, if you're comfortable, invest in a good handlebar bag.
Yun.
Invest in a good handlebar bag. Rackless. Rackless siguro kung pwede. Kasi, when the camera, lubak tayo sa Manila When the bag hits the rack, pag nagbabounce siya ng ganun, Kasi hindi mo
Okay, okay,
maiwasan
okay.
yun eh. Kahit nakatali
That's
yung
right.
kahit nakatali yung bag sa rack or sa
Oo.
frame mo, no matter how much yung
Yeah,
tali na ginawa mo, pag nalubak ka,
tama.
gagalaw yung bag mo. Tapos yung camera sa
Mababarog
loob,
yung
tatama
ano.
sa loob. Tapos may mga bag
Yeah.
ako dito na nabutas. Nabutas yung bag
Wow.
dahil sa lens. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Buti di bumagsak.
Wow.
Oo.
Ganong
So,
kalakas yung impact.
yung, kasi edge kasi, yung lens ko, may lens hood. So, yung lens hood, tumatama siya dun sa bag. So, habang lubak sa Manila, hindi ko
Grabe.
napapansin,
Yeah.
nagdidig na pala yung lens hood sa bag. So, improvise lang kasi yun eh. I made the camera bag a handlebar bag. Hindi siya pwede.
Hmm.
So, ang dami kong bag dito na nakatambay lang. Trial and error siya.
Yeah.
So, invest in a good handlebar bag.
Good. We'll keep
Tapos,
that in
bili ko yung
mind.
camera insert sa Shopee.
Nagdo-notes na kami ni Mika.
Yun yung cheapest option.
Nagno-notes
Oo,
kami
yun.
kasi sinabi ko to kay Momo kanina, yung dream job ko talaga is to be a Nat Geo photographer. Pero hindi ako marunong mag-take ng picture. so it's really interesting
Pwede
to
yan.
hear all of these. Yeah. Someday, I don't know,
Yan.
baka maging ano tayo. Magbo-bike na rin ako katabi mo, tapos mag-picture na rin. Aagawan na kita ng subject. Joke lang. So, siguro, ano lang, I wish we had more time, pero usually, we also want to respect everyone's time now. But I guess to summarize everything that we talked about, I think the first point that you made was how cycling was a means to make you get to your work or to do your work in a faster and more efficient way. I think we can all relate to that if you're a bike commuter, especially who's listening. I think tried and tested na yun na kung sa Metro Manila ka, tas you want to be to your destination in a faster and more efficient way, it's really through your bicycle. Like, no questions asked. Like what Jilson mentioned kanina, a car actually limits you more than it liberates you from our transport problems. I think a bicycle is a great choice if you want to connect more to your world. And then the second is yung kwento ni Jilson, yung experience niya with carrying all his equipment, his umbrella, his raincoat, his lenses. I think yung takeaway ko doon personally is hindi enough yung masabi na kunyari may bike lanes na tayo. Mas dadali na siguro yung the likes of Jilson and us na bike commuters. Hindi pa rin parang it's still the safety of our bike post trip is still an issue. It's still something that we have to address, and I think it's one of the few professions that you can help, I guess. Kaya parang hindi siya relate, hindi mo siya maiisip sa start na parang hindi naman related yung trabaho ng photographer sa state ng bicycle infrastructure natin sa Pilipinas. But I think any professional will benefit from it, especially hearing how our photographers work. And then last, siguro yung favorite ko na sinabi nga and what Momok mentioned, yung mas nagiging tao ka when you ride your bicycle. I think it's your own personal experience differs from what it used to be when you weren't on your bicycle. Parang it's really a different world in two wheels. I guess that's what you can say. So, ayun. Maraming salamat ulit, Jilson. If our listeners pala don't know Jilson yet, you can follow him at Jilson.Chu. Tama, di ba? Period.
Yes.
Jilson, period, Tiu.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. You can follow him on his social media, and it really
Thanks din,
bike
thanks
commuter
din for
ka.
inviting me talaga.
Yes, of course. Thank you for agreeing talaga. We're sana we can all bike and meet in person soon.
Oo.
Yeah, sana nga. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, maraming. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat, Jilson. No? Well, so that ends this episode of Cycling Matters podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or YouTube. Just search Cycling Matters in your favorite podcast platform while brewing your morning coffee or tea. Put on some earphones and enjoy the discussion. You can catch more of Cycling Matters on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, or on our website at cyclingmatters.ph. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Cycling Matters podcast. Until then, ride safe, Philippines.